At best, the alien abduction phenomenon is a terrifying, traumatic experience. At its worst, well, we think they sometimes take people and don't put them back.
I lost my mother and brother to this trauma. He murdered her, then killed himself.
These women are being used as human incubators, with all their children stolen away into the night.
A 6-foot-tall entity of blue-white light paralyzed me, then bent down and said into my ear, "Hi, Steve." It knew my name.
We hear gruesome stories of experiments and dissections. Imagine dying on a metal table while paralyzed, surrounded by alien faces. It's a real horror story. Good evening, everyone.
Hello, Leslie.
Hi, honey. Welcome to our show. It's Abductions 101, UFOs and the Paranormal Connection.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. And we always start our show with a personal experience. And tonight I was going to share one of mine.
Oh, that one when you were 16?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, cool.
When I was 16 years old, I was living in Portland, Oregon. And I was a runaway at the time. I wasn't living with my family. I was living with a boyfriend. And I decided I had this funny feeling that day. I just woke up feeling at love and peace and one with the universe. It was rather unusual for me to feel that. And I just kind of wandered around all day with this big I love you smile on my face. And my boyfriend was in kind of a strange mood. So I just decided to let him alone and go for a nice walk. So I'm walking along Portland, Oregon, busy street in the middle of the day. And I saw this
homeless
man. He was incredibly bedraggled. He looked in really bad condition. He's wearing a greasy coat, and he had
he looked unkempt,
really draggly, right? Black, draggly hair, and his skin was blackened with grease and dirt. And he just kind of looked pretty poor condition. Anyway, he asked me, he asked me for some money, and I don't like giving money to people because I'm afraid they'll use it for drugs, right? So he said he wanted to buy some food, and we were standing right in front of a hot dog hamburger place. And I said, well, let me buy you lunch. And so I take him by the arm and bring him into this restaurant. And the owner of the restaurant, we were up at the counter ordering, and I ordered him a big meal. And we sat and talked while he was eating his meal. And the owner of the restaurant was very nice. He could have thrown us both out, but he let us just sit there. And then after I fed him, I gave him some money, and I walked out. And I ended up giving him the change from the meal. And
you went by this church, right?
Yeah, then I started walking down the road, and again I was feeling really just love, love, love. And then I turned, and next to me there was a giant church on the left of me as I walked up the street. And in the courtyard of this church, there was this rose garden, and in the courtyard there was a statue of, I'm not sure who exactly, but it was I think it was Mother Mary, like one of the saints or something like that. And I turned to look at the statue, and I entered this bizarre state, I call it a state of grace. I don't know what else to call it. The whole world around me went black, except for a spotlight beam of light, twinkly light, on the statue. The statue itself was brightly lit, and everything around me was black. And I heard the most beautiful music, kind of like choir music, but sung by a million voices and
unearthly type.
It was pretty unearthly. And I was just standing there, staring at the statue, feeling love penetrate every fiber of my being. And then I heard a sound. I heard somebody say, "Lady, lady." And I kind of snapped out of it. And I turned, and it was the owner of the restaurant. He had followed me down the street. And when I turned to look at him, he stopped in his tracks. He was running up to me, but he stopped. And he got this strange expression on his face, like he was frightened of me. I don't know what my face looked like, but I guess I must have looked kind of angelic right at that moment, because I certainly felt angelic with all that.
You might have
that
seen
love and everything.
You might have seen part of the phenomenon. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, but he stammered something like, "Oh, that was really nice what you did. That was really nice," and then he turned and ran away down the street.
Back to the hot dog place, right?
Yes. So I don't know what he saw, but I think I scared him. I think he thought I was not of this world, maybe, or something. But I was.
I always interpreted like you were being tested, and you passed the test, and you were given like a gift. That that it was a master or whatever, or maybe an angel that basically wanted to see.
You mean the homeless person?
Yeah, the homeless
may have
person.
Been,
the homeless person was a test to see what was actually truly in your spirit and your heart.
Maybe, but
that's the way I always interpreted it.
That's the experience, though. There it is.
Very cool one.
All right. Well, we're going to introduce our guest in a moment. His name is Tommy Cullum, and we're really excited to talk to him tonight.
It's been a year. Yeah,
that's right. Welcome, everyone, and back to the show. And our wonderful guest tonight is Tommy Cullum with the Let's Get Freaky podcast. Tommy is a content creator and host of the podcast, Let's Get Freaky, and where he explores all aspects of the paranormal, including ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Well, so welcome to the show, Tommy. Thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
Yes, hi, cheers, Tommy.
Thank you. Cheers. That is an honor to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, guys.
I forgot what part of England you're in.
So I'm originally from Essex, which is right next to London, but I now live in Dorset. So I'm about 2 hours up the road in Dorset on the coast. So I'm by the seaside. And I want to get over to where you guys are. I want to get to the US. That's my goal. That's where I want to get to.
Oh, well, you'd be welcome.
Yeah,
I'm coming.
Sure. And, we live very close to Contact in the Desert, which happens every June.
Mm-hmm.
So
cool.
Yeah, in the desert.
One of the big things that happens here,
Wow. We're in the desert just east of Los Angeles, about 100 miles east of LA,
Yeah, we're luckily for us, we're not experiencing the fires. Because the fires in Los Angeles have been,
dreadful.
Have been absolutely devastating. We stopped watching the news November the 6th of last year.
Oh wow!
And we just stopped watching. So we had no idea that there were fires going on.
Yeah,
wow.
Well, I got a hint on it with Instagram, and then we heard that via that that was going on.
Some of the images are terrible. Like some of the pictures that are coming out and
just dreadful.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking.
Pacific Palisades is one of the higher end areas, and the average cost of those houses are $3.4 million, just all up in smoke. You get 100-mile-an-hour winds and dry conditions with no rain, and there's nothing you can do. And also the water supply, they ran out of water. The firemen ran out of water.
That's just wild.
It's a perfect storm. A perfect storm for
Have they got it contained now? Is it contained? Is it under control?
No, nothing like. They're still fighting it.
Oh wow!
The winds have died down a bit, and that helps. But it's just the scope of the devastation. That's the problem. There's only so many resources that you can use.
Yeah, we're safe out here though.
Horrible.
It's there's not enough here to burn where we are in the desert. There's some creosote bushes, and that's about it.
It's terrifying. It's terrifying how this can happen. But heartbreaking.
We can't even get insurance.
We can't even get insurance.
Yeah, we've tried, and they're just
nope.
There's no insurance companies in California willing to insure kind of properties and stuff. Right.
So potentially this is going to have quite a big impact going forward.
Well, for everyone who can't get insurance. Certainly.
Yeah, 100%. Man, that's
let's
wild.
Let's get back into our genre of the paranormal. I wanted to ask how you got started in the paranormal world.
Well, I've always been interested with everything to do with the paranormal, ghosts, cryptids, UFOs, everything. I've always found it super interesting. It sort of goes back to from the start, really, from being a kid. Like, I was always one of those kids that was scared of the dark. I still am. I still am scared of the dark. But I never slept well as a kid. And we actually did grow up in a haunted house. You know, there was a lot of activity in the house we grew up in. And I think that's probably what got me. So I've always known that the paranormal is there. I've always believed in it. I've always experienced it. So I for me, it's just would love to get to the bottom of what is going on, and that is just probably why I do the podcast and talk to so many cool people like yourselves. And that's really why I do it. I love it.
Tell us about the haunting of the house you grew up in.
Yeah, so it was your classic haunted house. You used to get things go missing. You'd hear strange sounds all the time. My whole family experienced it. My brother, my mum and my dad, we all experienced it. But there was one particular night that really stands out for me in that house. And that was when I saw an entity in my room, a full-bodied apparition. And so as I said, I was always one of those, I was always one of those kids that was scared of the dark. And I always felt like there was something in the room. Like I would always get up during the night and get in bed with my mum and dad if I could. I know that, and it was getting a bit out of hand. So I was around 10 when this happened. But me and my brother, we shared a bedroom, and we had bunk beds in the room. And I was on the top bunk, and I remember waking up one night. I woke up one night, and street lights. It used to cut, so you could see the layout of the room. It was never like pitch black in our room. And I remember waking up, and I don't know what time it was, but I looked down at our desk that we had in like the corner of our room, and there was a man sitting there at the desk, like full-bodied, just sitting there with his head in his hand, just sort of looking in my direction. But and at the time, I've freaked out. I've screamed. In my mind, I'm not thinking ghost. I'm like, there's a man in the room, like that, and I was terrified. The thing is that this guy, he did look like William Shakespeare. Like, that's how I perceive him. That's how he looked like he was from that era.
Like he was dressed like that, kind of.
He had like this brown, old-fashioned suit on. He had like long brown hair, like a little beard. He had like these big boots on. He just looked like, to me, when I see a picture of William Shakespeare, it always takes me back to that. And I'm like, that's like the dude I saw. But I freaked out. Obviously, there's a man in my room. And I was always a scared kid anyway. So to finally see something there. So my mum's run in, and she's like trying to calm me down. And I'm like, Mum, there's a man. And I can still see him. He's not disappeared. He's just sitting there, not moved. As far as I'm aware, he didn't even blink. He was just there.
Yeah. And
my mum's gone over to him, and I don't know if she's gone through him, but she's gone to the corner of the room where he was, come back to me, and she's saying, there's nothing there. You need to calm down. And I don't know how, but she sort of got quite stern with me and said, you're staying in your room. And somehow I did stay in the room that night, which still baffles me that I did. But I went under my covers, and I just remember sweating. I was just laying there shaking, sweating. I was terrified. And I kept looking every now and again, and this dude was still there, still not moved, still there in the corner of the room for all night. Like, I was
But your mom couldn't see him? And
she couldn't see him. No, wow. She didn't see him. I guess because I've spoke to my mum recently about this now, and she always, every time she hears me on a podcast, she's like, I'm so sorry. But she says that at the time I had a problem with getting in their bed at night, and I think she was just sort of had enough of it.
Right.
And she was like, you're staying in your room.
Like fibbing, maybe, Yeah.
Yeah. You're sleeping in the top of a bunk bed, so your brother was on the bottom?
He was on the bottom. He didn't wake up that night. So wow. He did have an experience in that room as well, though. He woke up one night and he saw two red eyes, and he said they were just sort of floating towards him, these two red eyes. So my brother had an experience in that room as well. My brother's different to me now. So we talk about it a lot now, but he's a lot more skeptical than I am. But he's still like, yeah, I don't know. But for me, 100%, there was a man sitting full-bodied in my room. And I somehow that night fell asleep. I don't know how. I don't know how. But I woke up the next morning, it was light, and he was gone. And I never saw that man again. That was like a one-off thing that I saw.
Only time, huh?
Yeah. I could always feel something in the room. I always felt like there was something looking at me, and I was always... And I still am. Scared, scared of the dark. Probably because
so was
of that.
he dressed a little bit like Ron Weasley at the dance and Harry Potter with those old time clothes? You know?
He had that vibe. I did see something else in the house as well. I did see another apparition that was different to that one.
Oh, yes? Let me hear it.
This was in my mum and dad's bedroom. And this was probably a little while after that first time. This was during the day. I was in my mum and dad's bedroom, and they had windows, like mirrors, in their room. And I was like just dancing in front of the mirrors. I can't remember what I was doing, but I was being silly in front of the mirrors. And a naked lady walked past me. Blonde naked lady walked past me, and my mum and dad had a bathroom in their bedroom, and it walked straight into their bathroom. And I followed it into the bathroom, and I'm like, I just thought it was my mum, because my mum's blonde. Sometimes she would walk around naked, and I was like, Mum, started talking, walked into the bathroom expecting her to be there, and there was nothing there. And I was like, what? No one was there. And I was like, that. And I ran downstairs and I was like, Mum, you just walked past me. Like, well, something walked past me. It looked like you. And she's like, well, it wasn't me. And so that was another time that I saw something as well. Definitely saw it walk past me. Like, very strange.
Was that a one-off again?
Yeah, I never saw that lady again. But yeah, those are the two times that I saw something.
You know, my sister and her husband, they they run ghostly encounters. They have
ghostly locations.
Locations. I always get that wrong, but they're up there in northern England on the East Coast, and of course they have the spirit boxes and the FLIRs and that kind of stuff. And they, it might be something. If that house is still available, they could do maybe check it out for you. Verify things.
Yeah, for sure. I'd love to go back there.
Lots of English castles, and old Scottish castles and stuff.
Wow, that's cool. That is cool.
I think that would be fun to do, go around with your equipment, And she said they went to Mary Queen of Scots' house.
One of her residents, right?
Yeah, one of her residences, and apparently she walks the one of the rooms there. They hear walking sounds of her walking back and forth, or someone walking back and forth.
Wow.
And Karen is his sister is Stephen comes from a really psychic family.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder if psychic abilities don't enter into it as well. And it makes me think that because like you could see it, but your mom couldn't, maybe you were on a wavelength of some kind where you were able to see it, and and I kind of wonder about that with Stephen's family too.
Well, yeah, I was kind of laughing a little bit when you're talking about being on the top of a bunk bed. With
he
you
has
and
a lot
your brother.
Of bunk bed stories.
Because you read the story I told you about when I saw the little garden gnomes, and then my brother started sleeping in the closet because he started seeing the little men that would come at night.
Yes.
It was just one of these things, and that house had a lot of stuff associated with it, including of course, the coins being magnetized in my pocket, and my dad, and it's all these things that were happening, and in two locations at the same time, 350 miles apart in 1979. So, when it comes to us, there's paranormal, but one of the houses these things happened, and my dad and my brother and myself, being construction guys and cabinet makers, we were building that house ourselves in the woods in Sonora, California.
So no one had died there yet,
so,
you know what I mean?
And it turns out, as we found, we've done multiple podcasts, right? We did a podcast with guys that, they do it out of Sonora, California. And one of the guys has been researching for about 30 years, through the newspapers. And apparently Sonora, California is like the fourth or fifth hottest spot in the whole country for UFO sightings. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really it's a super hot spot, and
and we don't, we're trying to make hide or tail or sense of everything, and there's the abduction phenomenon, and then there's hauntings like our dearly departed ghosts, and then there's evil creatures that seem to come from the bowels of hell, like demonic possession and demonic attacks and stuff. And they all three seem to be different phenomena.
And spirit guides too.
Yeah, but they all kind of delve in and out of the spirit world, so to speak. But
Yeah.
I think ghosts are kind of locked into a location.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And demons, I think, can go anywhere. And the thing with alien abductions, like in Stephen's family,
Right.
it spans different countries. You
Right.
know, they put these little tracking devices in people,
Hmm.
and then they can find you anywhere in the world. You know.
Like they put in me on my right,
Yeah,
my
he
right
had one.
deltoid. We found out about that just by pure accident because I had a very bad accident in 2013 where I almost lost the use of my right arm, and the only reason we knew there was a tracking device there is because of the X-rays that were taken. That they had to take X-rays to see like the extent of the damage, and
It looks like a little metal grain of rice that.
Is that still in there?
inject.
Is that
No,
still there?
they took it out when he had to have a 6-hour surgery on his arm for.
right,
And we forgot. We were so concerned about his arm and his maybe losing his ability to play music because he was an
Right.
orchestral musician at the time.
Mhm.
That we just forgot to ask the doctor to
I forgot
pull the device
if I
out for us.
if I
you know?
had just asked for a copy of the X-ray. I do
Yeah.
have the X-rays.
We have a copy somewhere in
on
the house,
DVD.
yeah.
No, we got the DVD or whatever it is. That unfortunately we can't
We
quite
need to
see
enhance
it.
it
We
a
need
bit,
to enhance it a bit, and the technology will get there. We're all built to
Oh,
actually
for sure.
see where the
Yeah.
where the implant was, but it was like I told you, in previous conversations where I was, my bed shook 3 times,
Mhm.
and then I was tapped on the deltoid, the right deltoid 3 times.
The tap
The
was right
exact-
where the
the
device
exact
was.
spot where
Interesting.
where I saw that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've heard of like Whitley Strieber. He's the guy who wrote the Communion books. He was he had one of these devices put in his ear, and the alien, when they put the device in his ear, they tapped the ear right where the device was. And this was years after I'd heard what happened to Stephen, right? I said, I know what's going on. I've heard the same story from
Yeah.
Stephen,
Yeah, it was just it's nothing we were looking for. It just was one of these things that just it was because I almost lost. I was really scared. I was scared that I'd ripped all 4 of my rotator cuff muscles.
and broke his scapula in 7 places.
And
wow.
they took him 2.5, and I was dislocated my shoulder.
Yeah.
Bad dislocation.
Oh, that's bad enough.
It took him
Yeah.
2.5 hours to get me to the hospital. We were out in the desert
Yeah, they were
on
way
the
out in the
on
desert.
the military base, and they were like knocking me up with Dilaudid, which was doing nothing. And at
man.
the end, I had absolutely no feeling. My hand was completely cold. I couldn't do anything with my right arm, and I just started to laugh at the end. I says, I can't believe, that the body can feel this much pain.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
fingers pain.
wow.
And then the whole thing where they put my arm back in was like, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They gave me they call it the Michael Jackson juice, where
Yeah.
they injected me, and then
And you don't feel nothing.
I was
after
sitting
that,
up. I was sitting up on the table, looking at the physician's assistant. I'm saying, "Are you guys going to do anything?" And he just kind of starts to smile, and the doctor is on my right side, and
Behind
apparently
him,
he's
yeah.
manipulating my arm, right? And so it was like 45 seconds go by, and then all of a sudden, oh, I got a feeling back in my arm, and he put my shoulder back in place, and I had absolutely no idea. I was
Wow.
awake and talking to the guy, but I had no sensation at all that they were manipulating. It was the weirdest thing. I was in
Yeah.
medicine for 20 years, and I would have thought that would not be possible.
Wow. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
wild.
But
That is
No
wild.
wonder Michael Jackson liked that stuff
Yeah,
so much.
exactly. Yeah. It's like, you feel no pain. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
the only time I've experienced anything like that is when I had a tooth out, which I know doesn't compare to what you went through. But they numbed my mouth, and they've obviously pulled the tooth out. Didn't feel a thing, and I was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah,
And then I
it
went to
is.
have a drink. I went to have a drink straight after, and it just went
Just
everywhere.
dribbles all down.
I still had no feeling.
That's brilliant.
Did
So,
the doctors know what that chip was? Did the doctors have any idea? Did they say about the chip at the
No.
time?
Oh no! But see, the thing
No.
is, I had that. The surgery was done at I always forget Los Alamitos. It was
Loma Linda.
Loma Linda. No, it wasn't Loma Linda. It was Anyways, I can't remember which hospital it was. It was a fair drive away. I had
But
to,
no, they must have vacuumed it out when they did the surgery.
I didn't, it didn't occur to me at the time.
We should have asked.
That, we actually had started to research to write a book, because when Leslie saw her first UFO, but at that time in 2013, it was like we hadn't even like laid one word on a piece of paper. And I was really more concerned about, we were making a living for one thing, and getting full use of my arm back. In fact,
for sure,
my right arm is actually probably works better than it did before.
Yeah, he had a miraculous surgeon. This old Scottish doctor,
Dr. Ian Brody.
Brody, yeah.
Wow.
Scott, it's a Scott.
But
he was a brilliant surgeon, and
it was like you can barely see where he opened up the shoulder, but you can still see it. But it's like,
wow,
this beautiful work, man, and it's like, anyway,
that's wild.
Yeah, and so we kick ourselves all the time about losing it, but it kind of doesn't matter. The phenomenon of them putting it in people is well documented with without our one little case to back it up.
I've heard of those things like disappearing. I've heard of doctors actually refusing not to give them back and stuff like that. You hear stuff like that as well. So
and
sometimes
they sometimes they move.
Well, yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
Like Strieber, he said he went to the doctor to have it removed from his ear. It was up on the, like the top part of his ear, the round shell part. It was up there.
Triangular fossa. Right.
And he said when the doctor went to take it out, it moved down into the lobe.
Wow.
She moved away from the knife, and then later moved back up there, I think, he said.
That's wild.
So it's almost like they're smart, and they know when they're in trouble. They know when they're in danger to be
100%.
taken out or something,
Almost like they could be a living thing themselves. Like they could be.
They do appear to have a number of them, they're using like nanotechnology. I mean, they're usually like a long row of like almost like 8 chips that are like in a long line, but of course on a microscopic or or nano level, but you can see that they are mechanically made.
Yeah, they're under electron microscopes. There you can see circuitry. That's circuitry and microcircuitry inside of them, well beyond our ability to produce. And if people are looking for proof of the aliens and the UFO phenomenon, it's right there. We can't reproduce these things ourselves. So where the hell do they come from?
For sure.
Right, and of course the means, the means, opportunity, and motive. What's the motive for it? Obviously, like we do the same thing with animals. We track animals all the time. We just do it on a less sophisticated level. That's all.
You need a little yellow tag hanging from your ear, darling.
We're just less sophisticated. That's all.
But it makes you think: how many of us could possibly have these things inside of us that have no idea? Like I could have one, and we don't. We just don't know. We don't know.
Yep.
So
I think most abductees that haven't regressed, to the memories, to remember the memories. They tend to be plagued with dreams, though, like, nightmares, frequently recurring ones, the same ones again and again. Like in Steve's case, we haven't been able to break through the block that they put in his memory.
Yeah.
Because, the blackout periods, we can't break through into those. And so we've tried, but haven't succeeded yet. And, like Betty Hill, when she was regressed, she ended up screaming in terror. As soon as the memories came flooding back, she started screaming in the psychiatrist's office. So obviously it's a terribly traumatic experience. And I think Steve's just maybe not ready to
I don't know.
Reach that wall.
Part of me really wants to know. The other part, I don't necessarily want to know how many times I was anally probed, and how much semen they've taken from me. I just that part of me says, okay, I can do without that. But if I actually had conversations with them, I actually if they're actually here to to help me out in this lifetime or whatever, and I would like to actually it's like with a boxer, Michael Tyson was famous for saying that everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the face for the first time, right?
100%. Yeah.
I've literally been hit in the face, 1,000 times with these things.
So what's 101?
So
1001.
what's 1001, right? So it's like it just doesn't faze me like it would. If a regular person at my age of 64 started having these things happening to them that have happened to me, they would literally think that they have dementia or Alzheimer's or they're going crazy. Literally, but I just take it in a being part British to start with, and coming from a British family that grew up in World War II England, I just take it from a different standpoint. I mean, I was being exposed to this stuff from the age of 3. Okay, so it's just like this has been a lifetime thing for me for 61 years. 61 years I've been experiencing these things that I can recall.
Well, this is not our show, by the way.
No, but we do have to take a quick break here, just real quick.
No, not yet. We have. It
is 25 minutes into it.
Well, I did want to ask before we do that. Have you ever seen a UFO?
Oh yeah.
I have.
Your own?
I have seen I've seen UFOs. I've had a couple of experiences with UFOs that I would say were UFOs. So my first one was when I was 14, and this is really strange, because I was 14 years old. I was with my brother and with friends, and we were playing football in the street, soccer. And we're playing football, and it was a lovely, beautiful summer's day. And I remember one of us stopped and was like, "What's that up there?" And we've all stopped and looked, and there was this, and this sounds wild, but this is 100%. There was, it looked like a building that you would see in Dubai, like a really futuristic building. That's how it looked, but it was really high up and just sitting there in the sky. And we're all looking at this and we're like, what is that? What is that? Is it a blimp? It wasn't a plane because it wasn't moving at all. Was it a balloon? We're watching it for ages, and to me it looked like a futuristic building, and it was like orange and silvery, and it was just floating. It was just there. It wasn't moving. It wasn't doing anything. And we're all watching it. All the boys have stopped playing football and we're watching it. And for whatever reason, and this bugs me to today, we just started playing football again. We just carried on playing football. Didn't even really
about the UFO. And
didn't even really talk about it. This is really weird. Didn't even talk about it. And bearing in mind, me and my brother both saw this. Friends saw this as well. We never spoke about it. Again, that I can remember, we didn't speak about it.
And when so English to me,
it really is like when the coins were magnetized. My dad and I, after I was approached by that alien that basically knocked me out.
What are you gonna do? Go back to work.
It was 1979. We didn't have cell phones. We just went back to work. Told my sister when she came home from school, but it's like okay, what's going to happen tonight? All right, so it's just like okay, this happened, right? So. We didn't bother to get our next door neighbor and take pictures or anything. I should have really saved them, put them in a jar or whatever, or took pictures. But people say, "Oh, those pictures were fake." No, they're not fake. My dad could pick them up too. So it wasn't something that I just witnessed. It was my dad and myself.
Yeah, so that's sister. Cool as well. Yeah.
So
that was your first. Do you had another one after that?
I do, but with that one as well. So I wish, obviously, if that happened now, I'd be watching it I'd watch it for 2 weeks if I had to see it move. But so that sort of memory wasn't lost, it wasn't gone, but for whatever reason, it wasn't talked about. Didn't really think about it that much, which I find quite strange. When I started Let's Get Freaky, I sort of thought about all the things that I'd experienced, and I have got other UFO experiences and other things like that, but that never really come to my mind, which is I find very strange. And I was on Cat Ward show, Paranormal Heart, and it was the first podcast I'd ever done. And I was talking to Cat, I was going through my experiences, and this memory of that UFO came up. And I was like, I'm going to talk about that, because where's that come from? Where was that memory, and why has it just come out now? It was really strange. And my brother listened to that podcast, because it was the first one I'd done. It was like, oh, bro, I'm going to listen to the podcast. And the next day, he rung me up, and he said, bruv, what was that thing we saw that day? I remember seeing it. I remember us stopping and watching exactly what you said. Why did we never talk about it? Why have we never? What was it? And I was like, I'm so glad you remember that, because I'm not going mad. It wasn't a memory that, you know, just came out of nowhere. That happened because he remembers it as well. Really strange, and because it was an incredible thing to see. You know, you see like a futuristic building in the sky really high up. That's amazing. Like, I should be thinking about that every day, but for whatever reason the memory sort of wasn't gone, but it wasn't at the front of my mind, which I find quite strange.
So there is a phenomena called
Fata Morgana.
Fata Morgana, yeah.
You took it out of my head.
Where I can't explain it. It has to do with a weather phenomenon where things are, it's a very, very cold inversion layer, and it causes an optical illusion that something's just a little bit over the horizon line is actually reflected up into the sky. So sometimes people see buildings and stuff floating in the sky.
Yeah, but you said it was very high in the sky, though, right?
Yeah,
very high. Yeah, it was high.
Way up high. It's usually
it was very high up in the sky. Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. There could be some logical explanation. I don't know, but I'm not sure.
If it's way up, then no, it couldn't be that phenomenon.
Yeah, there was that Chinese sighting which they have on film where
I know what you mean.
City. You've seen that one?
Yeah,
I've seen that. That's incredible.
Sky, you know?
Yeah.
It's
Can you see
a phenomenon?
People moving as well on that? Am I thinking of the right video? You can see like people.
Yeah, sure. There's one with windmills too. With windmills, the for generating electricity.
Wow.
Some in the background. It's a strange phenomenon, but
very odd.
But it can't always be that. I mean, you know, you've seen like ships that look like they're like hovering above the ocean.
Yes, I was just gonna say,
But that's not very high off. It's like they're like hovering maybe 20 feet off the ocean or something like that. But...
And then there would have to be that real building you saw would have to be just over the horizon. It would have to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was right up there because we was in like a little cul-de-sac. So there was we were surrounded by houses, but we were playing football in the middle of the road, which we always did. And this was like right up there. But again, I don't know. There's no idea what it was. Very
it's so
strange.
Wonderful that they can. UFOs, we have these characteristics for them.
Right,
and one of the characteristics is that they can hover soundlessly in place with no means of staying aloft. There's no propellers, there's no, and they're silent. So do you guys didn't hear any sound associated with them, probably, right?
No, not that one. There was no sound at all, no movement even. Didn't even really see it. I obviously didn't see it disappear or fly off or anything like that. But yeah, it was just there. It was just very strange. When I think back of the image, it was very strange.
I wonder if we can attribute any sinister aspect to your guys not remembering it for a long time.
Well, that's what I thought, missing time.
Were you did you feel, did any of the kids experience nightmares or anything like you may have been actually taken? I
mean, it's possible. I mean, I never really thought of that until recently, when you talk to more people about this sort of stuff, and that seems to be a theme. I've always had bad nightmares. I still do, to be honest. I have weird dreams all the time. Not too sure about my brother. The only problem is as well, me and my brother both remember this. I can't remember what friends. I'd love to talk to them to see if they remember. We was always with different kids and stuff, but I'd love to know if anyone's listening to this, my friends, and you remember that as well, let us know.
Ring him up, yeah.
But my brother definitely remembers it. So.
And so when you say futuristic building, was it kind of rounded, not sharp corners, but like rounded things?
It was like, it was just it was like a long rectangle shape, but it had all like, it was just a weird shape. Like it had all like bits coming off the side. It was just like a really weird shape. How you would see a futuristic building like from Dubai is how I always say it. When you see one of those buildings.
Was it silvery? Was it a silver?
It was silvery and orange. There was like orange on it, and then there was silver, and it was sort of like the colors were like intertwined basically. But yeah, it was very, very strange.
So you said, as far as like other UFOs, have you ever seen like one or two that, for instance, do the angular movements that you just can't explain?
Or supersonic speed.
Well, this was a very strange one, and this was more recent. So this was about 10 years ago or something like that. We used to live in a flat in Brentwood in Essex, and we was on the top floor of 4 floors up. So we was on the top, and this is me and my mother-in-law both saw this. So we both saw this, and we was talking out the window. We're looking out the window, and we had this little forested area opposite our flat. And basically, we're just talking. It was a lovely summer's day again during the day, and 3 objects came out from the trees, and they were only small. They were only like the size of a basketball, but there was 3 of them, and they were like sort of. They seemed to be connected, but they weren't touching, and they were sort of moving around each other, and they were constantly changing shape. All 3 of the objects were constant. They were never like the same shape. They were constantly changing, and they were just moving around each other, and they were going up and up and up. And me and my mother-in-law are watching these for a good 5 minutes, whatever it was. We had a good look, and we're like, "What the heck is that?" And they were like, "Have you seen the film The Terminator when he melts?"
Yes.
Yes.
It looked to me. It looked like that coloring. It was like that sort of. Seemed to be like that sort of material to me. That's how it seemed.
Silvery metal looking stuff, but it's like liquid too, or
like
something.
liquid, but still look like silvery and solid. And they were like just constantly changing shapes. You couldn't put a shape on them, and they seemed to be touching, connected, but they weren't actually touching. So they seemed to be together, but there was like gaps between them. So they were just going round and round and round, and we were watching them till
like
they got
energetically linked, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all of a
I've heard that
sudden,
described on UFOs many times, where these lights, like they'll meet up and then move as one after that, like they're somehow energetically linked to each other. You know?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and we were following them all the way up, and this time I did see how they moved, because they went. Like one went, all 3 of them shot off. So as soon as we saw that was like, well, that wasn't a balloon. You know, that wasn't a balloon at all, because nothing moves like that. And we both saw that, and we were like, wow. And every family party that we're at now, me and my mother-in-law talk about that all the time, because it was amazing. And I can see the other family members are like, you saw that, yeah? You sure? We're like, yes, we saw that, 100%. So,
my first UFO was just a white light in the sky, and that could be 100 different things, right?
Not the way it moved.
But then it took off at 20,000 miles an hour from a dead stop and was gone, over the horizon in a quarter of a second. And
it wasn't.
Yeah, then it's got to be a UFO. Can't be anything
wasn't
else.
a laser pointer, like somebody's like playing a trick. There weren't clouds. So it's like, I've heard other people like trying say, "Oh, well, anybody can do that with a laser with clouds." And says, "No, sorry, this is 2005, and this."
Nah.
It was just, no, it wasn't a freaking laser.
And it wasn't green, it was white, and
Yeah. And then people say, oh, it was a balloon. We're like, you know what a balloon looks like. You know how a balloon moves, really. These things,
they don't liquidly morph into other shapes, for one thing,
Yeah,
right.
They don't just shoot off into space.
And energetically link with other balloons,
Yeah, that doesn't happen. That's not how they work.
That's one of the things I want to add to the criteria, is this thing where they link together. Frequently UFOs, like people see a large UFO, and then it'll break apart into little ones, and they'll all shoot off in all these different directions, right? And then they'll come back together sometimes and all link back up again, and then fly off together as one.
Like as a mothership or something, almost like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like they can I don't know, join together energetically.
Well, it's like
somehow,
they say, like Grusha's saying that, and whatever, and Elizondo, that it's really like an order of magnitude of technology above and beyond what we have currently. So it's and we of course we don't call them alien, we call them our cousins.
Yeah,
because of,
we think they're a branch of humanity broke away from us thousands of years ago, as we said on the podcast we did with you. So
Yeah.
when
yeah.
we don't call them aliens, we call them cousins. So our cousins, we think that they are about 12,850 years ahead of us. We think because we think the separation was caused by the Younger Dryas comet impact of 12,850 years ago. So, they didn't lose their technology, and we did. Being on the surface, we got punished by the catastrophe.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to hunter gatherers.
Yeah, and shoved us back into the Stone Age, but. Our cousins that escaped the cataclysm, they kept their technology, and I think it is about 10,000 years ahead of us, right? I mean, it's not like a million years ahead of us,
right?
Doesn't it seem like 10,000 is about right?
Yeah, we know they're still breeding with us. We know that they still like our cattle blood, and so you know that they're basically anatomically very similar to us, and their brains are very similar to us. That's why they can use telepathy. I mean.
I was always wondering why all the aliens, too, all the different alien types, they're always bipedal hominids. 2 legs, 2 arms, 1 head, 2
eyes.
Basically the same skeletal structure as we have. And that never made sense that they were coming here from all different star systems, but they have to have the same structure as we do, exactly the same structure.
Yeah.
So that's why we believe that. But
That's very interesting.
We should take a break for a few seconds here, and so
and then we'll be right back.
Have a word from our sponsors. Yes, so excuse us.
Okay, let's.
And we're back with our wonderful guest, Tommy Cullum of Let's Get Freaky. So, Tommy, how long ago did you start your podcast?
So I've been doing it now for this summer. It will be 3 years. So I'm getting into year 3. About 2.5 years at the moment. Nearly at 3 years.
Relatively recent, then.
Yeah, still pretty new. Still learning. Still don't know what I'm doing really.
So
but I'm getting there.
Isn't that the truth?
Before that, were you doing investigation work? Any ghost hunting kind of stuff?
Not really investigating. I mean, I've always, as I said, I've always been interested. I've always listened to podcasts and watched TV programs and read books. I've always been, in that sense, I've always been investigating. I've never been out and done like a proper paranormal investigation, I would say, with the technology and stuff like that. I'd like to do that one day. I think that's something going forward I'd like to do. But no, I've never done that side of things. Not really.
Seems like fun, yeah.
I used to be. I used to be really scared of. So I used to listen to podcasts, and this is going back not that long ago, and I'd be like, I shouldn't be listening to this because I'm going to invite stuff, And I, as much as I love the paranormal and find it super interesting, there is a side of me that is still a bit scared of it as well. So I'm like, should I be listening to this? Should I be reading this? But now it's too late. I'm reading books and listening to more podcasts and talking to cool people like you guys, and so it's too late now. I'm in it.
You've been sucked in.
That's it. There's no going back. You can't. Once you learn more, you go down another rabbit hole, and then you go down 10 more rabbit holes. It's like, wow, this is amazing.
That's the problem. That's what we find ourselves after we did our documentary, and all the comments we got, and all the positive, negative, and in between, and all that kind of stuff. The typical stuff you're going to get, like they're demons and whatever, or this basically say we're just full of garbage. So it's just so many people, unfortunately, in this type of thing that we're talking about. There's a lot of I find those very rabbit holey. You're right about that. People just want to jump down that they're time travelers because there's been some movies about time traveling, or that they're coming through wormholes, or that they're coming from different galaxies, or there's just so much disinformation in the field that just doesn't hold up the scrutiny. And that's the thing that I said, that you're not doing like I told Leslie, I went to one of these experiencer groups that contact in the desert.
There's a lot of charlatans
and
out there
the thing was packed. The thing was packed. It was like standing room only, almost. And there were like a couple people you could tell, at least I could tell, that they were telling the truth. from what they were saying, but another one or two were just, my God, they were there to promote themselves and promote just
a product sometimes,
disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just
or an
like
amulet that'll protect you.
Yeah,
you know, or
yeah. We come across people like that. They say, this amulet here that we wear allows me to like speak a 1,000 different galactic languages, and these people are saying, when our booth say, we can help you with like, retrieving your memories, and it's like I'm just hearing dong, dong, no, yes, yes, and those are the type of people that like, what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to do is like you're trying to get answers for yourself.
Yeah.
Because that's why you're reaching out to people, because you want to try and get some answers. Like, what did I experience by hearing other people talk about it?
Yeah.
We're kind of doing the same thing ourselves too.
I know, because once you see something, you can't unsee it. Right?
100%, yeah, 100%.
UFO you saw,
yeah, 100%, yeah, and I think that's why
you have to answer it. You have to answer, at least search for the answers, right?
100%, yeah. I think that's why as well with this stuff. Once you have one experience and you know that there's more, you're gonna have loads more because you're gonna notice everything. And I think once you're open to it, that's why more stuff happens as well. Like right now in the house that I'm in, I experience stuff. Like there's stuff going on around me all the time. I think you notice paranormal when you feel it more. Once you know it, once you know that there's more going on, as you said, there's no getting away from it. It's there.
Sometimes it just feels like it's on the other side of the veil, like it's with you, but you could just almost touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we sometimes get a glimpse.
Yeah. To me, it's always been like listening to a radio station. We're at 97.1. You hear 97.1, but if you go to 97.3, you no longer hear 97.1. But you go to 97.5, then you're hearing 97.5. And I think that some people literally, because how the brains are wired, some people literally can, through either meditation or just through happenstance, are able to pick up on other frequencies. And it's just like Leslie. When we started doing these different, Kundalini raising techniques, and I taught her Tai Chi and things like that. But she started, during the day, she'd be working at her computer at work, and she'd hear a person's voice talking clearly right behind her. Okay, this right behind her, and there's nobody there.
You turn, and there's no one there.
That's
very odd.
I used to, when I was 25, just real quick, I would take a break at lunchtime and just lay down on my bed at the house where I had the coins, thing. And I would hear two men having a conversation on a radio station. And there was like music in the background. They're having this animated conversation. And I thought it was my neighbor had turned on his radio really, really loud, or the TV was on. So I was very relaxed, but I got up out of the bed, and I said, oh, there's no radio on, there's no TV on. Went back to bed, and I could do it again. And I did this a few times. If I just got into the right state of mind, and I could literally be hearing. And I heard other people talk about that too, like the thing about like people talking about your teeth. You pick up on radio stations with your teeth, and I think that was what was happening with me. I was actually literally picking up on a different frequency.
I think you were hearing into the astral realm myself.
Yeah, I was fully awake, and my eyes were open in the room, and I was laying on the bed, and I was hearing this very distinct conversation between these two guys.
Wow.
Like DJs, almost like DJs having an animated conversation. And I wish I could remember what they were saying.
I don't think you told me you couldn't quite make it out.
I couldn't quite make it out, no.
You hear that a lot. That you hear the voices. You know that there's a conversation, but it's just a little bit muffled. We just can't quite understand. You hear that so many people say that.
Yeah, like it's coming from another room, or there's a wall between you.
I can say this is a real thing. It's happened to me.
Yeah.
Well, I literally had it about 2 nights ago. I know that sounds wild.
Really?
I was on the toilet about 2 nights ago. I was just about to do an interview. It was quite late at night in the UK, and I could hear someone talking in my hallway. And I've had quite a lot of weird stuff happening in the house recently, and I was like, oh, one of the kids must be up, or the wife's up, or something. Anyway, I've gone out there. Everyone's in bed, and I'm like, okay. Stuff like that happens. Yeah.
why they call it the witching hour, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
1:00
100%. Yeah.
So the place you're in, this is a different home that you're in now. You think it's also haunted, right? You're getting some paranormal stuff there.
Yeah, especially when I started the pod, and this is what I mean about as well. Looking into the paranormal, I think it looks back. I think when you start looking into the paranormal, and I think it looks back, and I think that certainly happened to me when I started the podcast. I've always had experiences. I've always heard stuff, seen stuff, and things like that. But it really felt like when I started Let's Get Freaky, a lot of things just started happening, and I was like, am I manifesting this? You know, am I making this happen? You know, it was just very strange, and it sort of continued. It's in like fits and starts. Like there seems to be a couple of months where not a lot happens in the house and everything's quiet and everything's normal, and then there's months where the kids are scared, the wife's scared, I'm scared. I'm praying out loud, you know, and which literally a couple of months ago I prayed out loud, like, if there's anything here that's not nice, you know, please leave, and stuff like that.
They do seem to come in clusters, don't they?
Yes.
We found that to be true in our family as well. Like years would go by with nothing, and then 5 incidents in a row would happen, you know, or 3 incidents in a row.
Well,
3 nights in a row or something.
Well, since we haven't talked for like about a year, right, Tommy? About the last
I've got to get you guys back on soon.
Yeah, about a year.
I want you guys back on soon.
Yeah,
we'd love to.
Yeah, I've had several interesting things happen to me since the last time we talked. One.
Wow. The zapping your brain.
Which one? Okay, that. Yeah. This happened after we wrote our book, and it was like after we talked. This was maybe about 9-10 months ago. It was a couple months after we talked, and I was in the bed and in the bedroom by myself, and I woke up, and then all of a sudden I was on a table in like an operating table, and there were these figures that were like the tall grays that were like leaning over me, and they had a picture of my brain on a video screen. And they were saying to themselves, you know, this guy knows a little bit too much. We better take some of these memories out of him. And they were zapping me. They were zapping my brain. And I was feeling the zapping at the time too. I was feeling like, you know, zap, zap, you know. And then I got out of my body accidentally in the astral realm a few months ago. I'm a 245, 250 pound guy, right? So 64. So I don't jump out of bed, right? So I had to go to the bathroom, and in this particular instance, I just jumped out and just went over to the door. And I thought that was strange to start with. And I tried pulling the door, and it wouldn't open. And I thought, what?
Because you forgot your body. And
I turned around and went back to where I was sleeping, and I saw myself this sleeping there, you know, face up.
Wow.
My first reflex was, oh my God, I just died. And then I thought, oh no, I'm just out astrally. So then I just basically laid back down on my body, and then I got up the normal way I do, a little slowly, and then I went to the bathroom. Not springing
out of bed.
No, but I've been able to astral project, most of my life. It's something that, for me, it's not necessarily something that I really enjoy doing. It's something that I can do. For Leslie, it's been
I loved it.
It was a different thing.
It was fun. Yeah, travel to Egypt a few times, and then I would go scuba diving. I always wanted to go scuba diving when I was younger, but I have ear trouble, and I have a ruptured eardrum on one side, and I couldn't equalize. I couldn't do the equalization thing you need to do to be able to scuba dive. So it's always been this frustrated thing, and so as soon as I found myself astral, I just hit the ocean. Just rushed over and dove in, and saw these crabs walking on the bottom of the floor, of the ocean, and saw a big whale, swam along with it, sort of.
I saw another person that was also, snorkeling,
astral.
Scuba diving,
astral people look weird. They always have this really happy expression on, like kind of, their eyes are too big, and so I saw this other girl, and she was looking at me like that, and I had the feeling that my face was in a similar shape at the time.
Wow.
We both rose up out of the ocean and looked at each other and then flew off in different directions.
There's a really good book out there called The Art of Astral Projection.
Yeah.
I
read one
works.
chapter.
It works.
I read chapter 1 and did the practices, and that
I
popped out of my body astrally, and
it's about
I was so surprised when it happened, because I popped out and I was up at the ceiling, and I was only about 6 inches away from that cottage cheese looking ceiling, that we have
very
here.
popular in the 60s and 70s.
And I was so surprised that I went, wow! And I slammed back into my body so hard that I jumped in bed,
Wow.
It's something that we all can do.
But we can all do it, yeah. It's just,
it
takes a little bit of training.
The Art of Astral Projection is probably about 40 years old now, the book, 30 or 40 years old.
Yeah.
But, you can probably get it on, eBay or something.
Do you have any experience with astral travel yourself?
It's weird because I've used to suffer really badly with sleep paralysis, like really, really bad. Like I used to, where I lived before I am now, we used to live in a flat in Essex, and I used to literally have it probably at least once a week. Like I used to get it bad, and I never used to think of it as a paranormal thing at the time. Like it was always very strange, but the sensation I used to get as it was happening, a lot of people say that is what happens before you leave your body. So I'm not sure, but basically, so how sleep paralysis was for me, I wasn't. It was as I was trying to go asleep. It was never waking up and being in the state. It was always getting into bed, laying there, not being asleep, but trying to sleep, and then I would get this vibration go through my body, like a vroom. And it was a lovely feeling, a really nice feeling. And I was like, wow, this is so relaxing. Very strange sensation. It'd go through me. But then I'm in the paralysis and I can't move. But then there was always this entity in the room that I couldn't look around the room and see it, but it was sort of in my mind's eye. Like I knew it was there. And it was like an evil, dark mass of something bad, and it was trying to attack me, and I was always in this state. I was like swearing at it and saying leave me alone, and I would break out of the paralysis. And I had this so often. I had it, as I say, once a week, and and in that state as well, I used to know that this was like, and I don't know how, this is just a knowing, this is just me going, that's what I think it was. But it used to me, it was like a witch. I was like, this is like a witch. That's how it felt. It didn't look like a witch. It just looked like a black mass of evil is the only way to describe it. It didn't look like a person. It didn't look like anything. It was just, I could just see it in my mind's eye, whatever this was. Right. And it wasn't until like sort of later looking into sleep paralysis and people say they see the hag. And I'm like, maybe that's what I was seeing. Yeah, it seems like a common thing. People talk about the hag. But I used to get that. So, and as soon as I left that flat and moved here, I've had sleep paralysis a few times in this house, but not like I used to.
Not as bad, huh?
And when it happens here, it's something else is attacking me. It's not that hag. I call it a hag. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't that entity, which is very strange.
At that flat, then hopefully.
Do you remember how old you were the first time that you had this, that?
It must have been. It feels like something that I've always had, but I can't have done. I don't really remember having it really young, but I'm guessing through my 20s at least, maybe from teenager, maybe it was something. But through my 20s, and in the last place that I was living, I used to get it so often. So I just sort of became used to it, and it was always horrible. Right. And whenever I broke out of it, it was always like, oh man, what was that? What's going on? Like that. But I always, as well, I know sleep paralysis is quite common. I always thought that, okay, everyone must go through that. It must just be, I'm stressed at work. I've not got enough sleep. That must be what it is. But then sort of since moving away and thinking about it a bit more and talking to other people that have experienced it, I'm like, no, I think there's something more going on there. And the vibration that I feel, that nice sensation that I said, that does sort of feel like, I've heard other people talk about astral projection and stuff like that, and they say that you do feel that vibration. So I'm wondering if that is linked to astral projection. I don't know, but
it's sort of a kind of a tingling aspect. I remember for sure. And one of the things that we were taught, but in raising the Kundalini energy and we were taught meditation techniques and chanting techniques to open the chakras. And have you ever seen like the representation of the tree of life? It's like these circles. It goes. There's one at the top, and then two, and then it goes down like a zigzag pattern with circles.
Yeah,
those are supposed to represent dimensions. Like God is at the center of this circle, and then one layer out is dimension 1, and then dimension 2 and 3, and we're supposed to be residing in the 10th dimension. And there's still a dimension below us, dimension 11. And according to our teachers, it's what the Christians would call hell. It's a very unpleasant place, inhabited by evil and,
kind of like the Earth.
Like dangerous, but this like dangerous creatures there, and they can access our realm supposedly through the astral realm. And it's when you're in that in-between state. They called it the hypnopompic state or the hypnagogic state, depending on if you went from waking to the state or from sleeping up to the state.
Right.
But you're still in between the two, waking and sleeping, and you can't move in this state. And they called it actually a time of power, because everyone feels vulnerable because they can't move, right? But this is where you can separate your body astrally and go traveling. And so you can just, if you find yourself frozen in that state again, try using a mental command saying, I'd like to separate from my body. I'd like to astral project or whatever.
Or fly over like wherever.
And then you can travel where you will.
Which I did that once. I flew over LA at nighttime. That was fun.
What I was going to say about these creatures that inhabit the astral realm, I think sometimes they lie in wait, to ambush us when we finally enter the state where they can be seen and heard and affect us, right? Like in Stephen's case, whenever he would go astral, almost every time it seemed like his tormentors were just on the other side, waiting for him. And we think there's a connection between the astral realm and the UFO phenomenon. Like they utilize it, maybe they're utilizing it to keep tabs to a certain extent on the people they're following. But when one thing they taught us was when you're astral, you can be attacked by these creatures, these entities from the lower realm. But we have the ability to go to higher realms, and they don't.
Because we're physical beings, we still have a physical body. Yeah.
So we're able to escape them just by going to a higher realm and, escaping them that way. So
interesting.
A little advice for the, the person suffering from...
it's fun. It's fun. Really anybody can do it. It's just you have to do a little bit of work. And, young people, it's very easy for young people to do that. In fact, remember, we had a roommate.
They're already kind of
We had a
open
roommate
to it,
in Woodland Hills that he went to a couple of seminars with, and then he actually was able to astral project one night, too.
Yeah.
Wow.
And he didn't even believe in this stuff, but he got out, he was floating over the house, and then he kind of flew around the neighborhood for a little bit, and then, then he got pulled back into his body, and he just, he was like, he thought we were full of it, until it happened to him.
Then it happened to him.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It
Everyone's,
really is.
People who don't believe it say, "Oh, you're just dreaming," and I go,
No.
It's quite different.
Yeah, I want to say the difference for me with sleep paralysis. I've never truly had sleep paralysis. Okay, when I've been awake and alert, it feels like my body is glued to the floor. It's one of these things where I could actually move if I wanted to, and I was alert, I was awake, and I was absolutely cognizant of where I was in the room. But then, because I practiced astral projecting and things like that, I knew that I could get out of my body. And sometimes I would have entities actually approach me when I was in that state. The 1.5 foot creature that was like floating up at the beam when I was 23 in the house that I lived in Woodland Hills, California, and I was sleeping on the floor at that time in my life, and I just woke up and I felt really, really relaxed. About 5:30 in the morning in the wintertime, and I just didn't want to get up at 5:30 in the morning, but I was alert, and I just happened to notice. I turned my head a bit. I noticed that there was this black being about 1.5 feet tall with the triangular shaped head, with these big feet and these big black eyes that were all shimmery, and it was just floating up there at the beam. And once it noticed that I noticed it floated down to my right-hand side, landed by my right-hand arm, and it said to me in this deep baritone voice, male voice, said, "Do you want me to help you get out of your body?" Okay. So there was a part of me that knew intuitively that I couldn't show fear. I felt a little bit of fear down below my belly button. I felt this little bit of like I was in trouble maybe. But I said to it, I said, "You can help me, but you cannot possess me." And I do not know why I said that, but there was something in me that just said that I couldn't show fear. And it tried to grab my arm, and it went back up into the air, trying to pull me out, and it kind of let out this like this frustration, and then it was gone. And then after that. And my dad asked me at breakfast, said, "Well, who were you having a conversation with at 5:30 in the morning?" So, of course, my dad, having been
and he could hear the voice too, other voice.
Yeah,
too.
my dad, having been a Bobby, after World War, he was in the Oldham district, Oldham Manchester district. So,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, he was a Bobby for 4 years, but so my dad was a really fun guy, but he's also a no nonsense guy too. So it's like he wouldn't be one of these people that just makes up stories. I mean,
but weird stuff happened to him.
Oh,
there's no question.
The whole family.
Yeah,
the
whole family had to deal with this weird abduction phenomenon
for 4 generations too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does seem to be in the family, doesn't it? It does normally seem to.
It does. Very
the
much
bloodline,
so.
the bloodline, for whatever reason. Yeah.
Well, I when we first started researching it, the theory at the time was that the aliens are just curious about us. They're taking samples, like a cross section of humanity. They just want to take scientific samples. But then, as we researched, we found that wasn't what was happening at all. What happens instead is that they find a bloodline, they find a genetic marker that they like, that meets their criteria. And then they prey on that family member again and again and again and again. They're through their lives, and then they'll start preying on other family members and children and grandchildren. So it tends to follow the family through generations, like in Steve's case.
Right. Actually, it's four family bloodlines. The Newmans from Germany, then the Rose in England, and the Shaws in England, and then even the Griffiths from England too. And the only reason the Griffiths are involved is because Doug Griffiths married my mom's older sister, and he was the one whose life was saved in Ceylon, which is now Sri Lanka, when he was in his very early 20s. He was in the RAF. He was a pilot post-World War II, and his life was absolutely saved by this entity that has been known as O'Glegley.
The family spirit
guide,
yeah, which we now know is a tall gray alien.
We know now because my brother's experience in 1982.
He saw him as in his normal form,
right? Which is about 6.5 foot tall gray alien.
Yeah.
I experienced it as a 6.5 foot tall, skinny, blue, white, shiny entity, and my uncle as a tall, skinny, black entity with a red fez.
But he saw it in the dark tent, and Steve saw it in a brilliantly lit room, and so...
Well, it brought all the light in there. That's why it's brilliantly lit. Yeah, exactly.
So, but he... it both preys on the family and protects the family.
Right.
Like in Doug's case, it told him, Well, you tell it. You know?
Oh yeah, well, he was awakened in the middle of the night. He was in one of these multi-man tents, sleeping on a cot, and he was awakened by this entity again, like I described it, and this entity said, "Douglas, you need to get out right now. There's a you may be killed if you don't get out right now. There's a raiding party coming through, something like that." And he knew about Old Glegley. He'd heard about stories from my grandmother and things like that, who'd also seen Old Glegley. So anyways, he got up, and the entity was gone.
Vanished,
He got up off the cot, and the entity just vanished. So about a minute later, this raiding party came through with machetes and guns and killed several of the officers.
Whoa!
And he took this so seriously. My uncle became a very wealthy man in escrow and real estate and that kind of stuff. Great guy. Salt of the earth, great guy. But anyway, when his daughter became of age, he bought her a Triumph. Being British, gave her a nice white Triumph, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the license plate was Old Glegley.
Wow!
Yeah, like he thanked him, for saving his life.
This was in the
Wow.
mid 70s when she became of age to be able to drive, and it was like his thank you. And it was something that we didn't really talk about a lot in the family.
Mm-hmm.
It was just one of these things that we knew about, and then Leslie and I started asking my brother, and now my sister she's been doing the automatic riding and doing tours.
Yeah.
And as we started researching it, it was like, first of all, it's almost entirely a Caucasian phenomenon.
Yeah.
About 9.4%. I mean, 94.6%.
It's between 90 and 94%.
Of abductees are Caucasian.
Mm-hmm.
And, they tend to take Rh negatives more than other blood types. I mean, they take the Rh factor is 4 abductees out of 10 are Rh negative, whereas only 1 in 9 people are in the population are Rh
and only
negative.
16% of the world's population are Caucasian.
So it begged the question, why? Why are aliens from distant star systems? Because that was the theory at the times. They were coming here from, the Greys are coming from Arcturus, and these guys are from the Pleiades.
The Zeta,
and those guys,
the Zeta Reticuli, right?
Whereas we don't think they're from anywhere but here, So, But it begs the question, like, why? Why Caucasian DNA? And the answer, we believe, is because we think they happen to be a branch of the Caucasian race. And they have all kinds of uses for Caucasian DNA,
It's their actions speak louder than the words.
Yeah, when you start watching what they do, it's really quite informative just by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
We need another short break here. So we're back, everyone. Welcome back, and welcome back, Tommy. Again, I feel like we're doing more of the talking than we should.
No, it's interesting.
I want to hear more about. Have you ever had any other guests on your show, like Stephen, who are abductees?
I've talked to a few abductees, yeah. And what I find interesting is that often it's a very similar experience. Like they seem to be the same experiences. So you can't call that, I mean, how can you, if everyone's, so many people are experiencing these things, and it's wild to me. And what I also find interesting as well is I'll put an episode out where I've got an abductee on and they share their story, and I'll get messages from people that don't particularly want to be on the podcast, because I always ask when someone messages, but they say, I experienced that as well. I had that exact experience. And I'm like, okay, that's cool that you've experienced exactly the same thing. Do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it? And they're normally like, no, I just wanted to let you know that I experienced that. And I find that very interesting.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the places for our researching our book, I was reading the work of Professor David M. Jacobs. He's done about 10,000 hypnosis regressions of abductees.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like using his data pool because it's such a large data pool, right? And one thing he said was that medical science keeps changing their explanation as to what this is. Some say, oh, it's hysteria. Some say it's a kind of schizophrenia. The medical diagnosis has shifted many times over the years.
Some type of aberration, usually.
But the experience itself doesn't vary. It's remarkably the same from person to person
100%.
to person to person to person,
Yeah, 100%. I had, early on in the podcast, I had Linda Thompson on the show. I don't know if you've heard of Linda. She believes that 1 in 4 people get abducted.
Really?
In her research, she thinks it's a lot more people than that we know. And that's interesting because a lot of the times, if you're not interested in this sort of stuff and you're not really looking into it, you might not know. You might not pick up on these things that we pick up on because we know the signs,
Right.
So there might be a lot of people out there that have these experiences that are like, oh, that was weird, but oh well, you get a lot of people like that just sort of shrug these things off. But then when you look back and you add them together, you're like, yeah, it could be that, So it's
Tommy, it's very, very simple to me in the sense that, a couple hundred years ago, we didn't even have the radio, okay? And let's say you have a radio and you're listening to a voice coming over this radio, and you're telling the people there that, these are invisible signals that are going through the air, and I'm talking to somebody 200 miles away, or I'm listening to this music.
You're a witch.
You're a witch.
Yeah,
you're a witch.
100%.
It's just like the whole thing, even like with our smartphones we have and our computers, where we're doing what we're doing right now. Okay?
Yeah, it's incredible.
You took somebody from 100 years ago, even 100 years ago, and they say, you're an alien or something like that.
Yeah,
like,
this would be amazing. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
You think?
I mean, look where we come with airplanes.
Yeah,
and satellites.
for sure. Yeah,
we're just. I think that our cousins, if anything, our cousins that that live here with us, coexist with us, that I think they're a little bit afraid of having 8 billion people living on the ceiling above where they live.
Yeah.
That have learned how to split the atom and have done 2,000 nuclear detonations since 1945.
And we think that they consider us to be barbarians. The thing they said to Bird, right? He says, normally we have nothing to do with you people and your barbaric wars, So
yeah.
They must feel very insecure having 8 billion obnoxious boobs on top of their heads,
But when you look at the people that run the world and you sort of think, yeah, I don't blame them sometimes. And we can be crazy. The world's crazy right now, that's for sure.
Yeah,
oh God.
We don't stick at killing each other, and I think they are physically similar to us, so similar that they can breed with us. So that right there should tell us that they're not aliens, right? Because if they can physically breed with us, so easily. And we're talking about sex breeding too. We're not talking about in vitro fertilization through genetic, alteration means or something. We're just talking about they're having sex with us, and progeny are being born, So it's obvious to me that they're human, but I think that's where the similarities stop, because humans used to have the ability to be telepathic. When Stephen and I were doing this Kundalini raising work, we became more and more and more telepathic ourselves. And it made me realize it's a human birthright, but that we have just let it atrophy in us. But our cousins have not let it atrophy. It's a skill that they've maintained and keep up. And it's probably built into their culture. And so they live in a society where everyone can read each other's minds. And can you imagine the difference that would make in a society?
It would change everything. It would be a completely different world.
Anybody 100%. Who
100%.
has these thoughts of anger and hate constantly would sort of be shunned and slowly weed it out of the population, that kind of person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I try and tell people now, like, for instance, when you lay down a memory, you know, like, for instance, like in any language, the 10,000 different languages that are on the earth, let's say the word tree, okay, Tree in English, right? You don't think your first memories aren't, oh, it's Tree. No, you see a tree. That's the way your body lays down memories. It uses chemical pathways through the axons and the neurons to lay down a pathway, and that memory is encoded. Okay, so that's why telepathy is actually the most basic way of communicating. Like the English language is 5 or 6 steps away from telepathy. It's a lot more, more difficult in a way, because you have to have all these other avenues. You have to, different parts of the brain that have to be involved to be able to recall that memory, whether it's a short-term memory or a long-term memory. So these, cousins of ours, they're communicating mostly telepathically, because it's just simpler. It's more direct. Okay.
You don't have to learn 9,000 languages either,
That's why when people tell me, "Oh, I can speak 1,000 different galactic languages," I just automatically know they're full of it.
Yeah, that one guy said that to us.
All right, well, okay, speak one of them for me right now.
And we are willing to believe a lot. Most of the things people come to me and tell me, it's like, oh, I believe you. But not that one. Yeah.
No, sorry, buddy.
If you think they say we only use, I know how do they know this? I'm not sure, but they say we only use 10% of our brain. If that's the
that might be a
case,
generous assessment.
That's
Actually,
that's a generous assessment.
If it's 5%, whatever it is,
around
there's
5.
a lot more there that we could potentially do if we could get 50% of our brain. Could we all communicate that way? And
I'm sure we could.
Back years ago, did we?
Yeah. The funny thing is, people, say you're called, like, they say, oh, you've got a fat head, or that you're a bird brain. It turns out that the brain is supposed to be 60% fat. So
that's a compliment.
We actually lose our ability to think and a lot of our ability to encode information as our brains shrink, because we're taking in less fat, the right kind of fats. So they call you a fat head. That's a compliment. If they call you a bird brain, actually birds have a higher concentration of neurons, which are the things that actually lay down the memories, than humans do. So you're called a bird brain. That's actually a compliment too,
huh?
Right? Because they have more neurons, even though they got smaller brains, but they have more neurons per the space.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
But like say when we first our first memories, when we're kids, like, everything is an emotional thing, right? Everything's like new and emotional. And then people say they can remember things like 80 years ago or 70 years ago. It's because everything's new, and it's also laid down in the hippocampus with emotions and the rest of the neurochemical pathways that allow you to be able to remember things. And so if you want to put anything to your long-term memory, associate it with a strong emotion, like playing music or whatever, just being excited about it. And guess what? You will actually put that into your long-term memory. It's about, like, you have to be invested in it, have to be excited about it, and then you will recall it.
Interesting.
I thought memories were something like deer trails. Like, you remember something and it makes like something happens to a person, and that
I told you that one.
Memory of it is like a slight little, like a deer trail going through a forest. But if you go along that memory again and again and again, now you're etching it into a proper path. You know what I mean?
And then into a road and into a superhighway. Yes. And it's partly to do with the repetition, but also to how important it is for you, you know, in your emotional body and your mental body. Like, for instance, Leslie and I, we learned all the capitals of the United States in our 60s, and then we just said, let's do all the capitals of the world, which we did. All right. So like we're like 64 and 65, and we can rattle off like 95% of the world's capitals.
Something to do,
you know, it's just like, it's like we can do it. But see, it was fun and exciting. That's why we remembered them.
Yeah, we're doing better on Jeopardy now that we've done
this. I need to start doing that. My memory's terrible. I forget what I did yesterday.
I know. ate yesterday, you know.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, because it's not that important, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, someone
if you're-
asked me
but if-
today. Sorry.
If you're on a trip, let's say if you were on a trip and you went to New York, you would
Yeah.
probably definitely remember what you had for breakfast the
100%.
day before.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so true. Someone said to me today, what did you do? Someone at work said to me today, what did you do last weekend? And I was like, what did I do? I still can't remember what we did. I think it was a relaxed one, but I can't
I'm not
remember.
really sure either.
I know.
I don't know. It's only a couple of days ago.
I don't memorize any of these pathways going by now. They're just
I know we watch football.
we watch a lot of football.
I did that as well. 100%. Yeah.
Different kind of football, I bet.
I would. I love NFL.
Oh,
NFL is probably my favorite sport. Yeah, I love it.
Good.
Oh, that's good to hear.
I like how we play in London once in a while at Wembley. Is it Wembley?
Yeah. I went this year. I went to one of the games this year.
Did you?
Wembley.
No kidding.
Was it the Packers and the that was Packers?
No,
was in
I
Brazil.
went to New England and the Jaguars. It was New England Jaguars.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Jaguars won.
Are you a rugby fan? Because we've become rugby fans.
Yeah, we love it.
Not really rugby. Soccer, football, basketball. I don't mind. I like all sport really, but not so. I did play rugby once when I was a kid at school, and I remember I was in the scrum, and someone punched me in the face in the scrum, and I was like, "No, this is not for me.
This is not for me."
I'll stick to soccer."
Yeah, my dad, he played rugby and soccer, and of course he was a cop. He had his nose broken 5 times.
Oh, rugby's ruthless. Rugby, I mean, fair play. I know that American football, NFL, it's a tough game. You know, these guys, they play with massive injuries and stuff like that. But rugby as well is a deadly sport. Like they're strong, they're strong dudes.
Oh yeah. There's no question there.
Their thighs are about as big around as my waist. You know?
Yeah. It's a dangerous game. It's a dangerous game.
My dad told me once that soccer was a game designed for gentlemen, but is played by a bunch of hoodlums. But rugby is a game that was designed for hoodlums that's played by a bunch of gentlemen.
100%. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And then our fill with the Olympics were just last summer, so we were able to get a rugby fix there. Yeah, it doesn't come on our telly very often.
No, it's not really in England. Rugby. I mean, not many. You do get people that love rugby, but it's not one of the favorite. I'd say more people prefer NFL now. I mean, that might just be me. I might be a bit biased, but that's. But it's a good sport.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's expanding. That's why they're going to South America and Germany and England. They see they can expand the market, and I love it because it is a great game. It really is.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny because I think rugby maybe could have gone the same way. It's with football. With football, they start hitting each other really hard, and then they realize, we need helmets if we're going to hit each other this hard. But then the helmet itself becomes a weapon, and now they have to have pads on every square inch of their bodies, Whereas rugby just pushes all that aside. None of that protection.
No.
If you're going to hit me with a part of your body, it's going to hurt that part of your body just as much as it's hurting mine,
Yeah, for sure. But they're both ruthless sports, but so really entertaining.
And I'm such a weakling myself. I always I'm really impressed when people are physically fit and strong. Because I'm just so the opposite. Yeah. I've been kind of a sickly person my whole life.
See what gymnasts do. We're not even talking about aliens anymore. So.
I know, to heck with aliens.
Let's talk rugby.
We should shift back for a bit, though, huh? Since that's what the podcast.
Yeah, we're an
about.
hour and a half into it already. Believe it or not.
So, tell us about your favorite experience. Do you have a favorite?
Favorite experience. That is a difficult one. Let me think.
How about most impressive or most?
I mean, obviously, the man that I saw in my room when I was a kid was obviously a big one because it, that was just for me. As I say, I always knew that there was stuff going on around me, but to see that And for me at that moment, all this stuff was real, you know, because there was no doubting in my mind that he was there, you know. So that has always been the moment that's like, yeah, that was my moment that I was like, there's a lot more in this world, 100%. Favorite experience? That is a difficult one. I've experienced quite a lot.
Tell us just one more that you haven't we haven't gone into tonight.
Shadow figures. I mean, I had an experience with a shadow figure when I was 21, and at the time I was at university in London, but I used to come home for the weekends. And me and my brother, this was in a different house, but me and my brother still shared a room. We sort of expanded. Me and my brother had the loft upstairs. We had our own little space upstairs. And I used to come home for the weekends. My brother was there all through the week, but I came home for the weekends. And I woke up one night, during the night again, and there was a man standing over my bed, like the shape of a man. And I thought it was my brother, just trying to scare me or whatever. And I've literally tried to punch what I thought was my brother because it scared me terribly. And I've gone through this thing. And my brother's woke up the other side of the room, turned the light on, and gone, bruv, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I was like, I thought you were standing over my bed. And at the time, like I didn't really know about shadow figures. I didn't know shadow figures at that time. Like I wasn't thinking shadow figure. Oh, I just saw. Did you see that then? I don't know if you guys saw that. I just saw like something go across my screen. Sorry.
Yeah,
did you see that? Did you see that?
I did see it actually. Yeah.
What was that? 'Cause I had something the other day. I don't know if you guys saw it. I was recording an episode, and there was like a white mist went through my screen. I put it on Instagram, but yeah, that was weird. Sorry, I just saw that. I didn't know what that was.
I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me there.
Yeah, me too. I think it dimmed for the wall behind you kind of dimmed down and went back up.
Whoa,
yeah,
that's weird. Okay, might have caught something there. Well, what was I saying? Yeah, so the
shadow figures.
So I didn't really know the memory. That memory was always there, but again. And it wasn't until later, sort of listening to podcasts and hearing people talk about shadow figures and stuff, I was like, I've seen that. I had that experience where I woke up and there was something standing there, darker than the room. You know, it was a dark room anyway, but this thing was like dark. And I've had that happen 2 or 3 times in the house that I'm in now, where I've woke up and there's been something standing there. The weird thing now, though, is when it's happened in this house, I've not been like super scared. And I don't know if that's because doing the podcast and learning a bit more about this stuff that I'm not getting used to it, because I don't think you can get fully used to it. But
or
that
you just
fear,
been punched in the face 1,000 times, and this is 1,001.
Yeah.
Okay, shadow figure.
Yeah, that's it. Like a little while ago, it was literally a few months back. I woke up during the night and there was what I thought was my wife sitting up crying. So I woke up and I've seen my wife sitting up crying, and I've gone, what's the matter? And I've gone through her, looked down, and she's still asleep. And I'm like, what was that? Like, what happened there? No idea. But yeah, so that was the other time. So I don't know, but very strange.
Well, one of the houses that we lived in Yucca Valley, on the Mesa, it's on the 33rd parallel.
Yeah.
So anyways, we both heard this many times. It would be a certain time of the night, and we'd hear somebody putting down like a glass onto a glass table. We have a swivel glass table that was in the living room. It's
glass on glass. It makes a very specific,
very distinct, and we both heard it, and we kept on hearing this at this certain time of night. We knew it wasn't the dogs, and it wasn't a rat. It was definitely the distinct sound of the glass being put down. And
I used to get the creeps without him around. He had to go. When we first moved out, he was still running his old practice about 150 miles away. So what he would do is drive into the town, stay overnight, and treat people on those 2 days, and then come home. So I didn't have him for 2 days a week for quite some time after we moved.
Yeah.
And I just started getting, I'd hear that sound. And I'm all alone in the house, and I don't like being alone. I don't take it well,
And we were in a fairly remote location, too, where we were living.
It was dark out there.
So we weren't living in a condo complex. We were living,
I finally had to, I discovered that I wasn't allergic to poodles. I'm allergic to dogs, right? And I thought, oh, I can't have a dog. I wish I could have a dog. But then I discovered I wasn't allergic to poodles, So we ended up getting 2 dogs, and that was how I coped with having a haunting in the house.
The big ones, the standard poodles, right.
I just felt so much more comfortable with a dog, in my arms.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And dogs see things as well.
Crazy noises outside, and even when there was just a puppy with me, I would clip a puppy to the thing and go outside. I'd still feel better, even though the puppy is defenseless little animal,
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure.
Still,
I don't really like being alone.
If you ever get a chance, really come down to this area. I mean, it
I'd
really
love
is
to.
one of the hot spots for UFOs and for all kinds of interesting stuff. Like you've got the Joshua Tree National Park, and U2, the group U2 did one of their albums called Joshua Tree. And there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of rock and roll culture out here, and there's a lot of artists, and there's a lot of also.
And it is a hot spot for UFO activity.
Yeah, it is.
Although when we say that, I mean, I'm 65 years old. I've seen it twice. It's not like it happens every day.
I've seen 5. I've seen 5, but the last one that we saw together in 2020 was like we had just moved to where we are now, and it was just like I always say the same things. That it was like this UFO was saying, "Steve, we know where you moved to."
Hi, Steve.
It's saying hello, because the area of the sky that we had to look at was so tiny, and it was just when we went out there at that specific time, and we just moved where we are now, and again it was doing this crazy zigzag type movements, and it was pretty big actually, and it was bright white, and it was soundless. But
wow.
And another couple that also lived on the same street with us, they also saw the same UFO.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just us; it was another couple that also saw it too.
And again, it did that zigzaggy thing. They make. When we want to turn an airplane around, right?
Right, got to bank it.
We slowly arc, bank over and slowly in a big U turn it around, right? But these objects were changing direction at full speed, and not U-turns, but V-turns. Just sharp, angular turns.
And it wasn't a drone.
At full speed without slowing down even the tiniest amount.
Right.
Yeah.
And then shoots away again at supersonic speed. Again,
going
if I were guessing, it was 20,000 miles an hour.
Going to the north again.
Yeah.
We know they've been clocked. In our research, we found that the fastest that we've ever heard of them being clocked on radar was this incident in Michigan where a National Weather Service guy caught him on radar going 72,000 miles an hour.
Woo!
72.
So that's
quite fast.
100%. I would have guessed 10,000 or something like that. But we know that they can move incredibly fast. And people say they've seen them disappear right in front of them. And I honestly don't know if they're able to go 72,000 miles an hour instantaneously. How would you know if they disappeared or if they just shot away while you blinked?
Or blink out of existence.
Yeah,
for sure.
I don't know if they can
the things that I saw,
or what. But
what was that, Tom?
The things that I saw, the way that they shot off that time was not like anything that we can do. They were so fast. It was literally like flash, 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 and you saw the trail of the flash. And this was during the day as well. This wasn't a night sky. It was very strange. So, and there's no way that nothing can move like that we know of.
Nope.
Right.
Now the inertia itself
currently.
would. If a human were in a craft doing that, they'd be smushed against the wall.
They would just be pieces. 100%. Yeah.
The equipment in the plane would be mashed against the wall. It's the inertia is so great.
I tell you, if you just give us another 50 years at the most, the way we're going with AI and tech, either we're going to like the robots where AI is going to kill us to find that we're basically inefficient, beings.
I saw the Terminator movies.
either they're going to basically because people, it's always that big question. It's the religious question: what determines a spirit or a soul, and why does a spirit or soul only have to inhabit an organic being? Can a spirit or a soul inhabit an android or a something that we make that's synthetic but is partially human? And so, yeah, something that's got 1,000 times the brain power that we have, that doesn't have the limitations of like 75 or 80 years of life. They at some point they just say, you guys are destroying the planet, and your only idea is to go to Mars. It says, you guys are, I think we're gonna like maybe take you guys out.
Yeah.
Just give us 50 years, and we will take ourselves out.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
For sure. Yeah, it does seem like I know it's AI is sort of still new, but it does seem like we're moving so quick with it. And I know we don't have any say what happens with the AI, so that's what I find very scary. Like what we're putting our world in the hands of a very small amount of people that are going to make some big decisions that could change everything. It's very scary. It's quite a scary thought.
Kill us all.
And it always goes, every single time, it goes into the military complex, the military machine, because everybody, it's people forget that hey, human beings are really good at enslaving people. We learn really well. We know how to enslave people. We have this crazy avarice for gold, and we like to conquer. Okay, we just like to conquer. So anything that comes out with AI and satellite technology, it's going to be used for the military. I mean, it always is, and that's the scary part for me. I did 6 years in the military, went from 80 to 86, and I know how this stuff works. And it's any of these things, you're always going to be put to negative purposes.
Yeah,
and that's what I really don't like about this stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
dead honest.
I'm scared of AI myself. I truly am.
I mean, they're possibly doing things now, or they definitely are. They must be doing things now that we don't know about yet, that maybe in 10 years' time will come out. I don't know, but it is scary, 100%. And they're talking about obviously putting chips inside of us and having our computers inside of us, and then we're getting really close to becoming something completely different when that happens.
Cyborgs ourselves, cybernetic organisms.
For sure. And that's where it seems to be heading.
That's where it's heading.
We all need a phone now. So we all need a phone.
As advanced as we are,
that's true.
Though, people ask me a lot: couldn't these UFOs just be our own technology, secret stuff? That our government is making, or that the Russians are making, or England are making, or whoever, right? China. And one of the weirdest things about these UFOs that can go 72,000 miles an hour is they make no sonic booms. So they're not moving through our airspace like we move through it. When we move through it, air pressure builds up and there's a boom, But they're moving 10 times faster or 100 times faster than we can move, and there are no sonic booms. And
inertia damping field.
Yeah. This guy named Bob Lazar, who he was the guy that was at Area 51, he said.
Yeah.
Right? And of course, now that he's become a whistleblower, they're trying to say, "Oh, he never worked here." But that was all. George Knapp did the work on Lazar, and he discovered that he did work there. He had a paycheck coming there, and
they talked about Element 115 before it was even.
Yes.
Public,
and now it's a reality.
It was publicly released. So
the way he said it, their propulsion works is that the ships he worked on, it had these gravity emitters,
gravity generators.
He said they were emitters, right? And he said there's 3 of them on the ship. There's one that's pointing straight down, and then there's 2 that face forward. So their engines, unlike us, our engines are in the back, right? The engines for the spaceships are in the front, and when they point forward, and they create like a gravity bubble in front of them, and that the ship kind of just falls into this gravity bubble and shoots away at these incredible speeds, and that's what's causing it to move that way and not
because it cancels inertia, cancels drag, lift and drag. You don't need lift and drag. Like what the Wright brothers, they figured out by watching. Actually, they figured out by watching birds fly.
And
That's the
you know,
secret, you know.
the pilot that witnessed the Tic Tac, his name David Fravor, you know, he said,
Mhm.
"Oh no, this is not Russia. This is an order of magnitude way ahead of our stuff." You know, no, we're not. We're not even experimenting with this kind of stuff. You know, to be able to
Yeah.
do these angular
No,
turns and you know.
Yeah, we have to get to 6 and 7G technology to be able to do that. But you know, we're going that way.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
10,000 years from now, we'll be right there.
Yeah.
We won't be here 10,000 years from now.
Well,
I plan on
you
it.
never know. Yeah.
Yes, we'll be reincarnated. It'll be
Yeah. If they're taking souls and putting them into computers, which maybe they can do one day, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I don't know if that's good or not, but I don't think so.
or
But,
even possible. But yeah, that would be
yeah.
cool. You
Yeah,
know,
if
live
they can.
forever. You know, in a computer.
Elon Musk was even talking about that last year.
Uh-uh.
Mhm.
Yeah, we went
Yeah.
to AlienCon, and some of the stuff that they're talking about, they were even talking about the 5 major industries like robotics and you know the internet and you know AI, that they got together the big guys, right? And they said, you know, we should maybe pump the brakes on this a little bit. We're going a little bit too fast.
Yeah.
We don't really know what we're doing, but they're already talking
And
about.
then they promptly didn't stop
Right.
breaking,
They're already talking about
the braking
taking.
at all.
They're already talking about putting the human consciousness literally into a black box that can live in a virtual reality world and experience everything we're experiencing and live forever. Okay, they're already talking about that kind of garbage. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, right, okay, put me in the virtual reality box and we have enough computing power. And guess what? And their justification is that we're not going to be, you know, destroying the planet as quickly if we start, like, living our consciousness in a, you know, we're not going to be, like, killing the giraffes and that kind of stuff.
Whoa.
So they're already, you know, they're already talking about this stuff. This was a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Blew my mind. And
and
I
it's-
was really depressed when I heard that.
Is Elon Musk still here? I thought he went to Mars already. You know.
I think he's taken over the world. I think
Yeah.
that's possibly
Very
what's
shortly,
going
I
to
think. You
Yeah,
may be
possibly.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
very
that's-
possibly.
Yeah. Well, you know, he's got a position in the new administration.
Yeah.
I was thinking that we really shouldn't bother with Mars. You know, people say, "Oh, we should, you know, try and make a colony on Mars or whatever." But Mars is dead. You know, it doesn't have an atmosphere hardly anymore. Only 1% of its atmosphere is left because it doesn't have a magnetic field anymore. And
Yeah, because its core is
the
not
solar
spinning.
wind blew away all the atmosphere, and it's just, you know, if you want to live there, you have to live underground or under a dome or something. It seems like it's maybe not the future.
No,
You
it's
know?
not. It's a pipe dream.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
it's dead. Leave it
We got
alone.
We got some interesting times coming. That is for sure. It's
I
definitely.
agree.
Sure.
I don't know if it's going to be good, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We do live in interesting times. No
Yeah.
question about it.
We've had a great time talking to you, Tommy.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Thank you.
Leslie's at her flatness of her derriere time. So.
Yeah, I after about an
Thank
hour and
you.
a half, I started to get leg cramps, you know, and
No,
I
it's
can't
been,
take it any longer.
been
We're
been a
I
pleasure.
don't know if you could tell, but we're in the tiniest of closets, you know.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are awesome. I'd love to get you back on Let's Get Freaky as well soon.
Oh, let's do.
Let's do it.
That's
It's a promise.
That's
Let's do it.
for sure.
100%.
All right, let's do it. So,
Thank you.